The sky over Boca Chica seemed to conspire with Elon Musk's growing frustration. Thick, steel-gray clouds hung low over the dry Texas ground, and the wind howled as if it were trying to push time itself into a direction it didn't want to go. Inside one of the futuristic structures of his space launch facility, Musk was hunched over a workbench, surrounded by lithium plates, precision tools, and the crumbled remains of another failed prototype. The problem wasn't new, but the frustration had become unbearable. The next-generation batteries, hailed as the leap that would transform Tesla's energy legacy, kept failing. Overheating, capacity degradation, internal corrosion, and the most maddening part, no one could explain why. Not his top engineers, not the most refined algorithms, not even his own gut instinct, usually his most powerful compass in the dark. Elon ran his fingers through his disheveled hair, frowning at the latest printout. The simulation showed the cell should have lasted 900 cycles. In practice, it had failed on the 43rd. He shoved the papers away in a sudden burst, sending them flying like fall leaves scattered by wind. He took a step back, closed his eyes, and tried to breathe. But the air was heavy, thick with moisture and something else. Something electric. Outside, the thunder began to speak in pulses. Not distant rumbles, violent cracks, as if the sky itself were being torn apart. The windows trembled with each blast. Elon looked up, drawn by the sound, and walked to the glass wall overlooking the launch field. In the distance, a lone tree bent under the force of the wind, swaying like a dancer caught mid-death. There was something poetic about it, he thought. An alert snapped him out of his trance. The main console lit up red, energy surge detected on outer perimeter. He frowned. No tests were scheduled for that night. He moved quickly, his steps echoing through the empty corridors, while lightning flashed in erratic staccatos, painting the walls with ghostly light. When he reached Hangar B, where he kept the most recent prototypes, he stopped dead in his tracks. The air was different. It buzzed. Literally. There was a high-pitched sound, almost imperceptible, like a whisper, inside his skull. The emergency generator flickered, and the lights blinked like dying candles. At the center of the room, where there should have only been a partially disassembled electric car prototype, something glowed. Not with ordinary light, but with a pulsating blue aura, as if time itself had been compressed into raw energy. It was a circle, a portal, floating about 6 feet off the ground, slowly rotating like an eye just beginning to open. Bolts of lightning danced around its edges, zigzagging to the concrete floor and scorching it on impact. Elon froze. At any other time, in any other place, he would have called his team, activated every sensor, recorded every frame. But here, now alone, something held him back. Curiosity, or maybe something deeper. He stepped forward, drawn like iron to a magnet. The hum grew louder. The air vibrated. The hairs on his arms stood on end. His feet began to lift, just slightly, from the floor. An invisible force pulled him closer, not aggressively, but like it knew he belonged to it. One last bolt struck, so close it shook the ground beneath him. Then everything went white. Not light. White. Silence. When Elon Musk opened his eyes, the sky had changed. There was no glass ceiling above him, no steel walls around him. Just a cold, gray sky. Not the artificial gray of Boca Chica, but the natural hue of a human winter. The kind that carried the scent of coal smoke, damp wool, and streets that creaked beneath wooden wheels. He was lying on a cobbled sidewalk. The stones were uneven. Horse-drawn carriages passed a few feet away, snorting under heavy harnesses. Men with precise mustaches and tall hats strode past, and women in layered dresses cast wary glances his way. Elon sat up slowly, dazed. No solar panels, no cars, no satellite towers, just gas lamps, black and white posters, the acrid smell of smoke and leather. On the closest lamppost, a newspaper was tied with wire, the New York Herald, February 15, 1890. He let out a dry laugh. "You've got to be kidding me." But the paper didn't kid. The world didn't kid. He was in 1890. A man with a thick accent approached and offered him a hand. "You all right, sir? You fall and hit your head?" Elon hesitated, then took the stranger's hand and stood up. I think I had a strange night." The man chuckled, assuming it was a joke. "Well, welcome to New York." Musk looked around. Everything spun slowly, as if his senses were caught between centuries. But his gaze froze at a newsstand where a small article stood out. Tesla proposes new wireless energy transmission model. His eyes narrowed. Tesla. It was real. He was here. The inventor who had inspired him since childhood. The man who dreamed the impossible long before the world was ready. A chill ran down Elon's spine. Not from the snow, but from what was about to unfold. He didn't know how, but he knew he had to find him. And somehow, the future, his and everyone's, depended on it. The cold bit harder than Elon expected. He walked slowly down the bustling street, each step crunching over uneven cobblestones, still wet from melting snow. His shoes, made for dry tech lab floors in Texas, were no match for the icy puddles that pooled in the dips of the old road. He wasn't used to this kind of cold. It wasn't digital or air-conditioned. It was real, bone deep, the kind that made you feel alive and lost at the same time. The city around him was alive with sound, but none of it familiar. The clop-clop of horses echoed between buildings made of brick and stone. Metal wheels squealed against the cobblestone. Voices rose in thick accents, German, Irish, something Eastern European, and steam hissed from grates like the city was breathing. Elon glanced up at a street sign, rusted and nailed to the corner of a lamppost. Fifth Avenue. He blinked. The same street existed in the future, but not like this. Here it smelled of horse sweat, coal smoke, and hot pretzels sold from pushcarts. There were no screens, no satellites overhead. The sky was gray but not polluted, just winter-born and raw. And everyone was staring at him. Not openly, but just long enough for him to notice. A man dressed in black wool, and a tall hat narrowed his eyes as he passed. A woman clutching her child pulled the boy slightly closer. Elon knew why. His clothes, sleek black jacket, synthetic fiber pants, trail sneakers, were like an alien uniform in a world still ruled by linen, leather, and layered coats. He might as well have walked out of a Jules Verne novel, summoned by lightning and fever dreams. "Sir," a voice called behind him. "You all right?" Elon turned. A young newsboy, no older than 12, stood near the edge of the sidewalk with a stack of newspapers under his arm. He wore a cap too big for his head, and his knuckles were raw from the cold. "You look kinda lost," the boy said, tilting his head. "Yeah," Elon replied slowly, his voice still adjusting to the absurdity around him. "You could say that. You from out west or something?" Elon smiled faintly. "Farther than that." The boy handed him a newspaper, curious. "Well, if you're looking for what's going on, this'll tell you. 5 cents. Elon checked his pockets. Nothing. No money. No wallet. Just a small metal pen light and the folded note he'd written the night before, the last sketch of a battery model that now seemed painfully irrelevant. I don't have any coins," he admitted. The boy shrugged, handing him the paper anyway. "You look like you need it more than me." Elon took gratefully. "What's your name?" "Peter." "Thanks, Peter." Peter nodded and jogged off into the crowd, already yelling headlines. "Big snow coming." "Fire breaks out in tenement on Pearl Street." "Tesla makes waves again, wireless power, they say." That line snapped something inside Elon. He unfolded the paper quickly. The print was small and packed tightly, the font old-fashioned. But halfway down the second column, there it was. Nikola Tesla unveils new wireless energy theory at lecture hall. Claims energy may travel through air using specialized coils. Skeptics abound. Public demonstration rumored. Tesla. He was here. Alive. Speaking. Elon looked up as if the article might point him in the right direction. Somewhere in this swirling, steam-heated madness, Nikola Tesla was making history for the first time. And Elon Musk, born more than a century later, was here to witness it. It felt like fate, or madness, maybe both. He walked with more purpose now, folding the newspaper and tucking it into his jacket. Each block revealed more of this living city, a symphony of workers, carriages, markets, and machines just beginning to find their rhythm. He passed a cafe where men argued over newspapers, a tailor fitting a customer by candlelight, a bakery releasing warm cinnamon air through a cracked window. Eventually, he reached a quieter street. The buildings were still tall, but closer together, the sidewalks narrower. An ornate sign swung gently in the wind above a large wooden door, Metropolitan Electrical Society, Lecture Hall. Elon hesitated at the entrance. A doorman gave him a once-over, frowning at his strange clothes. "You here for the Tesla lecture?" the man asked suspiciously. "Yes," Elon answered. "I'm a great admirer of his work." The doorman squinted. "You with the Germans?" "No, just very curious." The man grunted and stepped aside. "Keep your hands where I can see them. There's been pickpockets." Inside, the hall was dim but buzzing, literally and figuratively. Hushed voices echoed under wooden rafters, and along the walls stood men in stiff coats and cravats discussing currents and magnets like preachers whispering verses. At the front of the room, hidden by drapes, was what Elon recognized instantly, a crude version of the Tesla coil. Tall, cylindrical, coiled copper, radiating potential. And then, from behind the curtain, he emerged. Tall, angular, dressed impeccably in black. His mustache neat, his eyes dark and intense, burning with a mind that seemed to see things other people couldn't. Nikola Tesla. Elon felt a strange tightening in his chest. This wasn't a historical figure in a textbook. He was real, breathing, speaking. Tesla cleared his throat, and the room quieted instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began in a thick Eastern European accent, "we live in a world tethered by wires. But imagine, if you will, a world untethered." A murmur rose in the crowd. Elon leaned forward. "I propose that energy, like thought, like music, can travel without ropes or rails. That the ether itself may be our unseen messenger." Elon smiled, recognizing the poetry behind the science. Tesla wasn't just brilliant. He was theatrical. He was a performer of the future, centuries too early. As Tesla spoke, Musk's mind began to race. He needed to speak to him. Somehow. Explain who he was, why he was here, the problem with the batteries, the accident, the portal. But how? Approaching Tesla publicly would be suicide. He'd be dismissed, or worse, arrested. He needed a plan. Something discreet, personal. He needed to find Tesla's lab, to speak with him alone. As the lecture ended and the room erupted into applause, Elon slipped quietly out the back. He stood in the snow-covered alley for a long moment, breathing in the cold, real air of 1890. Tesla was here, and if he could find him, maybe, just maybe, he could fix everything, even himself. Elon waited until the last guest disappeared down the snowy steps of the Metropolitan Electrical Society Lecture Hall. He watched the figures fade into the fog of winter like ghosts returning to their century, leaving the building in eerie silence. The copper lighting fixtures above the doorway hummed faintly, casting warm halos over frost-covered stone. He turned the newspaper over in his hands, the headline about Tesla's wireless energy theory now creased and worn from the pressure of his grip. Every part of him buzzed with urgency, but he couldn't just walk up and knock on a legend's door like it was casual. No, he needed to be precise, respectful, but honest. He wasn't just meeting a man. He was meeting a myth. Elon stepped out into the alley behind the building. A faint light flickered behind a frosted window, accompanied by an electric hiss. He recognized instantly the soft chatter of an arc discharge. This had to be it. Tesla's laboratory. The door was old wood, carved in Art Nouveau swirls and dulled with time. Elon raised a hand to knock and hesitated. His reflection in the window pane stared back, a modern man in futuristic fabrics, wind-blown and out of time. What was he supposed to say? "Hi, I'm Elon Musk from the 21st century, and I need your help with an electric car battery?" He knocked. Nothing. He knocked again, louder this time, 2 short raps followed by 1 long. From behind the door, footsteps. Then the sound of latches turning, one after another, like tumblers in an ancient vault. Finally, the door creaked open a few inches. A single gray, I stared at him through the gap. Yes. The voice was accented, Eastern European, rich and dry, like old paper dipped in mercury. "Mr. Tesla," Elon said. I know this is strange, but I believe I was meant to meet you." A pause. That much is clear. Tesla opened the door fully now, revealing his tall, lean frame in a high-collared black coat. His hair was slicked back neatly. His mustache was trimmed to perfection. His posture radiated both pride and weariness. Behind him, the interior of the lab glowed with coils, sparks, and blue arcs dancing in glass tubes. Tesla's eyes scanned Elon's clothes like a mathematician solving for X. "Those are not from New York," he said slowly. "No, sir. Not even from this century." Tesla's brow arched, but he didn't laugh. Instead, he stepped aside. "Then we are either in the presence of genius or madness." Gourmet. Elon stepped into the lab and was immediately swallowed by a world of copper, smoke, and silent voltage. The floor was cluttered with half-finished devices, blueprints pinned to every wall, coils stacked like sculptures. Tesla's mind had spilled into the space. It was beautiful chaos. "I know who you are," Elon began, his voice hushed with reverence. "Your name, your work, it shaped everything I ever believed in. Wireless energy, oscillating frequencies, resonant circuits. I studied it all." Tesla raised a hand. "I do not suffer flattery, and I especially distrust men who speak of futures they claim to know. I'm not trying to flatter you. I'm trying to tell you, I'm real. I'm from the future, a future you helped build. And I'm here because I've hit a wall I can't pass alone." Tesla's eyes narrowed. "A wall?" "Yes. I build machines that run on energy you dreamed of before anyone dared to believe it was possible. But something's wrong. Our batteries, they decay. Fast. No matter how we build them, they collapse under time and usage. It's like we're missing a principle, a pattern too subtle for us to detect." Tesla crossed the room, picked up a copper sphere from a desk, and began to roll it between his palms. "And you believe I have this answer? I believe you saw the world in a way no one else did. That maybe the answer isn't new. Maybe it's something you once knew and buried under other dreams." Tesla turned the sphere slowly. "There is something you must understand, Mr. Musk. The universe does not give up its secrets to those who merely observe. It surrenders only to those who speak its language, and that language is not always logic." Elon nodded. "I'm beginning to understand that." Tesla looked at him now, truly looked. "You are troubled." "I am," Elon admitted. "I have the resources of a world you couldn't imagine. Satellites, artificial intelligence, machines that land themselves on other planets. And yet, I can't fix something as simple as a battery. I don't know if that makes me brilliant or a failure." Tesla said nothing for a long time. Then he walked to a shelf and pulled out a dusty journal. He flipped through its pages, stopping on a yellow diagram. "This was an idea I abandoned," he said. "It was too poetic, some said. Not enough math. But I have always felt, not calculated, that energy has personality. That systems resonate best not when they are efficient, but when they are harmonious." He turned the page and handed it to Elon. The sketch was strange. It showed a spherical design, layered with spiral patterns, built not for compression, but for oscillation. Notes scribbled in the margins referenced lunar cycles, water tides, and bird song frequencies. This is beautiful," Elon murmured. "It is nonsense," Tesla said. "Unless, of course, you believe in the music of the universe." Elon whispered. "I just forgot how to listen." Tesla smiled for the first time. "Then perhaps you are not mad after all." They stood in silence for a moment, the room softly lit by blue electric pulses from the coils around them. A storm was beginning outside, wind rattling the windows. "You cannot stay long," Tesla said suddenly. "Time, real time, has elasticity, yes, but it does not enjoy being folded for too long. If you are here, it is only for a short breath." "Then I need to make it count," Elon said. "Will you help me?" Tesla nodded. "Not because I understand you, but because I believe even a man out of time deserves to see the future once more." Elon held the diagram in his hand like it was a secret song written by the stars themselves. And he knew, in that moment, that everything was about to change. The room hummed with electricity and unspoken tension. Elon stood by a cluttered workbench, carefully examining the intricate sketches Tesla had handed him. Diagrams of spiraled coils, harmonic field generators, and annotated notes filled with odd phrases like "resonance syncs with intention" and "form must follow the invisible." It was a strange blend of science and something bordering on mysticism. A blueprint drawn by both the hand of an inventor and the soul of a dreamer. "You're not used to seeing the universe like this," Tesla remarked without turning around. He was now pouring water into a kettle on a small cast iron stove in the corner of the lab, as if preparing tea while discussing dimensions beyond understanding was entirely routine. Elon looked up. "I'm used to equations, models, predictable inputs and outputs. This," he gestured toward the blueprints, "feels like jazz." Tesla smiled faintly. "Then perhaps it's time you learn to improvise." For a moment, there was only the whistling wind brushing against the old window panes and the gentle hiss of steam. Tesla moved with elegance, his long fingers wrapping around porcelain cups, pouring the tea without a word. He handed one to Elon, who took it with a quiet nod. The aroma was strong, bitter, herbal, nothing like the sleek espresso shots from his SpaceX lounge in Boca Chica. "You speak of energy as if it is only a commodity," Tesla said as he settled into a high-backed wooden chair near the fireplace. "You and your century, your machines, they draw power as though it is something to be extracted, mined, harvested. But I see energy as music. It is everywhere waiting to be played. The problem is not the source, it is the player." Elon sat across from him, processing every word. "You think our batteries are failing because we're playing the wrong song." "Perhaps," Tesla said, sipping his tea. "Or perhaps you're trying to conduct a symphony with broken instruments." A log popped in the fireplace. The crack of burning wood echoed through the room. Elon leaned forward. "I've studied everything you've done. Your patents, your experiments. You were always decades ahead, sometimes a full century, but no one believed you." Tesla's face darkened. "No, they believed Edison, and Westinghouse, and Morgan. They believed money. My visions frightened them." "You scared them because you didn't want to sell power," Elon said, eyes narrowing. "You wanted to give it away." "Exactly." Tesla stood and walked toward one of the large coils. He touched the polished copper surface gently, like one might touch the bark of an old, familiar tree. "I tried to give them a world without wires, without constraints. But free energy? That is a terrifying idea to men who make fortunes by chaining the world to outlets." "I face the same thing," Elon admitted. "The more we try to innovate, the more resistance we face. From governments, competitors, even the public sometimes. Everyone wants progress until it threatens comfort." Tesla chuckled softly. "You are more like me than I thought." Elon smirked. "Just better funded." Tesla's laugh was genuine this time. "Tell me, Mr. Musk, what drives you? Fame? Wealth? The stars?" There was a long pause. "I used to think it was Mars," Elon finally said. "Colonization, expansion, survival of the species. But lately, I don't know. I think I just want to feel like I'm not wasting this brain. Like there's a point to all this thinking, building, solving. I want to know it matters." Tesla nodded slowly. "Ah, the inventor's paradox. What's that?" "That the more you build for the world, the lonelier you become in it." Elon stared at the fire, letting the words settle into the corners of his mind. He had never said that out loud, not even to his closest confidants. But Tesla had said it so easily, like it was a truth carved into the bones of every genius who'd ever lived. So, Elon said after a while, "You think this design of yours, this harmonic resonance idea, could stabilize the battery issue?" Tesla turned toward a chalkboard and began drawing. "Your problem is that your devices resist the world around them. They try to dominate nature. I propose a battery that harmonizes with it." He sketched a spherical battery made of nested coils, vibrating at a frequency tuned to the Earth's natural Schumann resonance. This design draws subtle energy, not in bursts but in pulses. It does not conquer the environment. It converses with it. Elon studied the diagram, brow furrowed. If this works, it would be completely new. Not just more efficient. Something entirely different. Tesla nodded. It won't just hold energy. It will breathe it. Outside, thunder rolled again, soft and distant this time. The storm from earlier was beginning to pass, but something in the air had changed. The lab felt warmer now, or maybe just more alive. "I want to build this," Elon said, standing. "Here, with you." Tesla tilted his head. "You cannot stay long, remember. Whatever anomaly brought you here, it will close. And if it closes without you in the right place." "I know, but if we work fast, maybe we can at least test the theory. And I can take it back." Tesla's eyes sparkled. "Then let us begin." They moved like dancers through the room. Tesla handed Elon copper wire. Elon passed him graphite rods. Tesla traced the outline of the harmonic chamber. Elon adjusted the spacing between coils using a technique developed for Falcon rocket thrusters. Two worlds, two timelines, two philosophies, merging in perfect rhythm. As the device began to take shape, they spoke little. They didn't need to. There was a silent language between them now, forged not by time, but by understanding. Hours passed unnoticed. Then, just as the final coil was installed, the room suddenly dimmed. The air shifted again, charge pulsing. From behind them, a hum emerged. Deep, familiar. The portal. It was reawakening. Elon turned to Tesla, breath caught. "It's happening." Tesla nodded solemnly. "You have limited time." Elon looked back at the device. It wasn't finished, not fully. But it was enough. Enough to take back. Enough to try. He moved quickly, taking Tesla's blueprints, rolling them into a metal tube. He looked around the lab one last time, not as a visitor, but as a witness. Tesla extended his hand. Elon shook it. "Thank you," Elon said, "for everything." Tesla smiled. "Remember, not everything worth building can be measured. Sometimes it must be felt." The hum grew louder. Blue light began to swirl behind them. Elon took a deep breath and stepped into it. The light swallowed him whole. And then, silence. The wind that cut through New York that evening was sharp and dry, the kind that scraped your cheeks red and made your eyes water, not from emotion, but from the air's indifference. The sun had just begun to dip below the rooftops, casting long shadows across the horse-lined avenues and gas-lit windows. As the city exhaled its usual steam and smog, a quieter scene unfolded a few blocks away from Tesla's workshop, inside the modest apartment of the man himself. Elon stood just inside the doorway, hesitating with uncharacteristic discomfort. For all his experience in glass-walled mansions and orbital command centers, he wasn't prepared for the intimacy of Nikola Tesla's private residence. The space was narrow and tall, filled with shelves upon shelves of books and paper scrolls stacked like miniature towers. The furniture was spare but dignified, dark wood, worn leather, and lamps with soft amber light, glowing like captured stardust. "It's not much," Tesla said, removing his coat and placing it carefully on a standing rack, "but it allows my mind to wander freely." "It's perfect," Elon replied, still absorbing the environment. "You live like your mind thinks, vertical, intricate, and on the edge of disorder." Tesla smiled faintly. "Some have called it madness." "Most people call things madness until they need them." Tesla motioned to a small table in the center of the room, already set for two. White porcelain dishes, a loaf of dark bread, a bowl of vegetable stew that smelled of garlic and thyme. There was no meat. Elon had read that Tesla was vegetarian, but it was different seeing it in real time. Everything felt intentionally simple, as if he'd stripped away indulgence to preserve clarity. They sat across from each other, the flicker of a single oil lamp casting shadows on their faces. For a while, they ate in silence, the only sounds being the gentle clink of spoons and the occasional creak of old wood under the shifting weight of time. "You're quieter than earlier," Tesla noted, dabbing his lips with a cloth napkin. "Regret, perhaps?" "No," Elon said slowly, setting his spoon down. "Not regret. Just wait. This day feels heavier than anything I've lifted in my life." Tesla nodded. "That's because it isn't just a day. It is a hinge, one that could swing the door of time in either direction." Elon leaned back in his chair. "Do you always talk like that?" "I've learned to. Poets understand the future before scientists do. Sometimes metaphors are just blueprints waiting for mathematics." They both smiled, and something softened between them. The tension of strangers was beginning to wear off, replaced by the quiet gravity that comes when two minds finally recognize each other. Tesla rose and moved to a cabinet near the window. From it, he retrieved a small leather-bound box and placed it on the table between them. Carefully, he opened it. Inside was a thin, cracked photograph. Elon leaned forward. It was a portrait, sepia-toned and worn by time. A woman seated in a garden. Her eyes were kind, her hair pinned up with careful hands. Tesla touched the photo with a reverence Elon had never seen in any inventor, not even himself. "My mother," Tesla said softly. "She was not educated, but she was brilliant. She crafted tools from memory, recited stories with no book to guide her. Every great idea I've ever had came from watching her work in silence." "She looked strong," Elon said. "She was," Tesla nodded. "She taught me that the unseen world, the one of feeling, intuition, dreams, is just as real as wires and equations." Elon swallowed a lump in his throat. "My mother taught me to endure," he said, "to be resourceful, to see no obstacle as permanent. I think I carry her in every challenge I face." For a moment, the room felt timeless. Two men separated by more than 100 years, yet linked by the quiet, invisible threads of maternal love and ambition. It was not something either of them could have prepared for, but grounded them both in a way no scientific principle ever could. Tesla returned the photo to its case and closed the lid. "Tell me," he said, shifting topics with his usual elegance. "In your time, how do people live? What do they cherish?" Elon paused. "Comfort," he admitted. "Convenience, connection, and distraction. Everything is instant. Food, news, emotion. People don't wait anymore. They don't wonder as much." Tesla's brow furrowed. "And do they suffer for it?" "Yes, but they don't always realize it. We're more advanced than ever, and more anxious, more addicted, more alone." Tesla sipped from his cup. "Then perhaps we have not progressed at all. Merely changed costumes." Elon exhaled sharply. "You might be right." There was another pause. Tesla looked thoughtful. "And what of invention?" he asked. "Do people still dream of changing the world?" Elon nodded. "Some do, but they're rare. Most want to disrupt something just long enough to cash out. Real innovation, selfless, beautiful, terrifying innovation, is rare. You were one of the last who did it for the joy of it." Tesla looked away. The joy was real. So was the isolation. Elon's voice grew softer. "You died alone, didn't you?" Tesla didn't answer immediately. His gaze wandered to the window, where gaslights flickered on the street below like tiny stars imprisoned behind glass. "Alone," he finally said, "but not forgotten. And perhaps that is enough." Elon looked down at his hands that had carried rockets to orbit and reprogrammed factories with code, and felt the sting of those words. For all his triumphs, he feared the same ending. Tesla rose again and walked over to a small writing desk. He returned with a worn notebook, its pages yellow and brittle. "I was going to burn this," he said. "Too many untested dreams. But now, I think you should have it." Elon took the notebook with both hands, stunned. The cover was blank, but the weight of it was immense. Inside were ideas no one had ever seen, formulas, diagrams, philosophical musings. Tesla's mind unfiltered. "I don't know what to say," Elon murmured. "Say nothing," Tesla replied. "Just build what matters." The clock on the wall struck 9. Outside, the wind picked up and a distant flash of lightning lit the edges of the sky. The storm wasn't over. Not yet. Elon stood. "I should go." Tesla nodded. "We still have work to do." As Elon stepped toward the door, he paused and looked back. "Do you think people will ever understand you?" Tesla's eyes sparkled, a mischievous gleam in them. "I hope not. It is better to be misunderstood and free than understood and bound." And with that, he opened the door. The wind roared in, and Elon stepped out, more inspired and more haunted than he had ever been before. In the modern world, the wind didn't howl like it did in 1890. It roared through metal vents, shuddered through pressurized doors, and was measured in silent readouts on weather monitoring dashboards. At the Tesla Gigalab in Boca Chica, the storm outside had passed, but the real one was just beginning to gather. Gregory Halvorsen stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the executive wing, arms folded behind his back, staring out at the clouded horizon. A man of impeccable composure and reptilian calm, he wore a charcoal gray suit so finely tailored it barely wrinkled when he moved. His face, sharp and symmetrical, looked sculpted rather than aged, like someone who had meticulously rehearsed each facial expression before letting it pass into the world. Behind him, a younger man approached hesitantly, holding a tablet close to his chest like a fragile artifact. He cleared his throat. "Sir, we've reviewed all perimeter footage. No trace of Musk leaving the building." Halvorsen turned slowly. "No visual. None. It's like he vanished." He smiled faintly. "Not like. He did vanish, which means we're at a crossroads." The assistant blinked. "Sir." Halvorsen stepped toward a digital table and swiped across its surface. The screen lit up with multiple overlays, schematics of the Boca Chica facility, satellite images, data feeds, AI surveillance logs. In one corner, a paused video feed from the security cams inside hangar showed the last registered visual, a flicker of light. Nothing more. "No one disappears in this age," Halvorsen murmured. "Not without help. Not without purpose." The assistant swallowed hard. "Should we alert the board?" "Not yet," Halvorsen said. "Musk has always been eccentric. If we panic now, they'll assume we're threatened. And we're not. Not yet." He walked toward a tall server column and placed his hand against a biometric reader. A side panel slid open, revealing a sleek, black briefcase. He pulled out, set it on the desk, and opened it with slow precision. Inside was a small, circular object no larger than a grapefruit, coppery, polished, and humming faintly. "Musk thought he could outpace us," he said, but his obsession with legacy made him sloppy. He locked himself in that hangar chasing something and left the door cracked. The assistant leaned forward, studying the device. "Is that?" "Yes. A replica of his prototype energy node." Halvorsen's voice lowered into something colder. "Not perfected, but promising. Enough to give us a blueprint." He tapped a control key, and a three-dimensional model of the node appeared in the air, its spiral core rotating gently, its coils aligned in a strange rhythm that defied conventional battery architecture. It didn't store energy. It pulsed it, as if alive. "But the design is incomplete," the assistant said. "Which is why we need him to finish it for us," Halvorsen replied, now seated calmly at the table. "Whether he knows it or not." In another wing of the Gigalab, Camila Reyes, head of operations, stood alone in the control room, staring at the data stream from Hangar B. Her Tesla-issue gray jumpsuit bore a streak of dust, her dark hair pulled back in a functional bun, and her expression was one of quiet, calculated worry. She had worked under Elon Musk for 7 years. She had seen him laugh through disasters and scowl during triumphs. She had watched him collapse from exhaustion on launch day floors and wake up with a new idea scribbled on a napkin. But this time, something was different. He was truly gone, and no one could explain how. "Run it again," she whispered to the AI system. The screen replayed the final moments, Elon walking into Hangar B. Then white light, a glitch, static, then nothing. She leaned back, arms crossed. Her fingers unconsciously grazed the woven bracelet on her wrist, a gift from her younger brother, who used to say, "If anyone disappears one day, it'll be you or Musk." At the time, it was a joke. Now it felt like prophecy. She tapped her earpiece. "Miles, I need the atmospheric data logs from last night. Full storm mapping. No filters." Miles, the meteorologist on duty, sounded groggy. "It was just a regular thunderstorm, Camila. We've seen worse." "Yeah," she replied, then explained the EM spike that fried every camera in the hangar. There was silence on the line, then a sigh. "Sending it now." Camila watched as the graphs appeared on her secondary screen. Her eyes scanned the patterns: wind velocity, humidity, electrical discharges. Then she saw it, a spike that didn't make sense. A wave of ionization localized entirely inside the hangar, rising rapidly just before Elon disappeared. It wasn't natural. "Dios mío," she muttered. She opened a secure terminal and began compiling everything: footage, atmospheric data, radiation levels, magnetic anomalies. If Musk had found something, if he had unlocked something, then it hadn't just failed. It had worked. And someone else knew. Back in the executive suite, Halvorsen stared at the paused 3D model of the Tesla coil battery hybrid. His fingers tapped against the table surface, the rhythm steady, controlled. He didn't envy Musk. He admired him. But admiration was not protection. "Musk is a visionary," he said aloud, though no one was in the room. "But vision without discipline is a liability." He stood and walked to the window again, watching the clouds part to reveal the rust-colored earth of Texas glowing in the fading sunlight. "In the end," he murmured, "it's not the dreamers who change the world. It's the ones who know when to steal fire and when to sell it." He turned back to the device. The hum grew louder, as if responding. "Let's bring him home," he said softly. And somewhere in a hidden room beneath the Gigalab, the machine began to warm. Not from code, not from wires, but from something far older, from resonance. Far from Boca Chica, in the heart of 1890s New York, Elon Musk stirred in his sleep beneath layers of wool and history. Tesla's notebook lay on a side table, its pages humming gently under the flicker of candlelight. In his dreams, wires floated like vines. Cities pulsed with heartbeat rhythms. Machines breathed like animals. The future and the past whispered to each other through tunnels of thunder. And far in the present, an old enemy was listening. The air inside Tesla's workshop crackled, not with voltage, but with anticipation. Elon stood barefoot on the wooden floor, sleeves rolled, forehead glistening with a fine sheen of sweat. The distant clang of a carriage outside reminded him just how far from home he truly was. The smell of ozone lingered in the air, mixing with sawdust, copper, and candle smoke. It wasn't sterile like his labs in the future. It was organic, alive, like the room itself was waiting to breathe. Nikola Tesla moved gracefully between tables, his dark coat flowing behind him like the tail of a comet. He held a brass caliper in one hand, measuring a component with the intensity of a watchmaker performing open-heart surgery. His focus was absolute, each movement fluid but precise. There was no waste in his rhythm. "Slide me the graphite rings," Tesla said without looking up. Elon reached across the bench and handed them over. "I adjusted the spacing to your wavelength formula. It should resonate cleaner now." Tesla gave a small nod. "Good. You're learning." "I'm a fast learner when time travel is involved." Tesla smirked without humor. It tends to sharpen the mind. They worked in silence for a while, each lost in the intricacies of the project. The device at the center of the room, their joint invention, was unlike anything either of them had built before. a spherical coil nested inside a spiraling copper shell, suspended between three crystal pylons that Tesla had sourced from a local artisan who never once asked what they were for. At the base of the sphere was a harmonic chamber tuned to the Earth's natural Schumann resonance, as Tesla had theorized decades ago. But it was Elon who introduced micro-vibration stabilizers based on resonance testing used in SpaceX's Falcon engine shrouds to counteract magnetic shearing. Their minds met somewhere in the middle. Genius woven through centuries. "You realize this shouldn't be possible," Elon said as he tightened a gear housing with an archaic tool that looked like a mix between a wrench and a violin key. "Neither is light in a bottle," Tesla replied, tightening his own end of the chamber. And yet here we are. Outside, the wind rose again. It howled through the cracks in the window, rattling a set of brass pipes along the far wall. A storm was coming. Another one. As if nature itself was keeping score. Elon looked up. "We don't have much time." Tesla paused, then walked slowly toward a chalkboard filled with scrawled equations and spiraling symbols. He drew a line under a string of notes and circled a section labeled simply, "Pulse Harmony, Soul Sync." "You've noticed it, haven't you?" Tesla said. "The strange behavior of the device. The way it hums louder when we're aligned, quieter when we're out of rhythm." Elon hesitated. "I thought it was just voltage fluctuation." "No," Tesla said. "It's listening to us, reacting. It's not just converting energy. It's reflecting us, like a mirror, but with memory." That struck Elon harder than he expected. "You're saying it's conscious?" Tesla gave a small shrug. "Perhaps not as we define it, but it knows us. It feels our frequency, our dissonance." Elon leaned against the table. "You're describing resonance feedback through emotional state." "Exactly." "That's impossible," Tesla said, smiling faintly. Yet again, the machine emitted a faint chime, soft, clear, and harmonic. As if to agree, they both turned to look at it. The copper sphere glowed gently, faint blue light pulsing from its seams in sync with something neither of them could quite identify. Not heartbeat, not breath, something older. "You said earlier that energy is like music," Elon said. "So this is what? A symphony of intention?" Tesla nodded. "And now it's time to conduct it." He flipped a switch on the main panel, actually more of a lever made from reclaimed phonograph hardware, and the lights in the lab dimmed. Sparks ran along the coil spirals, illuminating the room with ghost blue arcs. The floor hummed beneath their feet. "Initializing phase alignment," Tesla said. Elon adjusted the frequency dial, targeting harmonic chamber, pulse amplitude rising. The room grew colder, not in temperature, but in presence. A stillness settled over the space, the kind of hush that precedes thunder. The coils began to spin. "Watch the waveform," Tesla whispered. The readings, mechanical ones made from clockwork sensors and magnetometers, fluttered, then stabilized. A perfect sine wave pulsed across the analog meter. Elon felt it before he saw it, a tingling along his arms, a warmth in his chest, a clarity in his mind. It was as if the machine wasn't drawing power, but giving it. Not energy, something more abstract. Lucidity. Tesla's eyes were wide, almost childlike. "It's working." Elon nodded. "Not just working, it's resonating." The machine lifted slightly off its pedestal, humming now like a crystal singing bowl. Vibrations poured into the room, not loud, not shaking, but gentle. Meditative. A frequency that didn't shake the walls, but rang inside their bones. Then it happened. A pulse of light burst outward, not blinding, but illuminating. And in that instant, both men saw things neither could explain. Fragments of memory. Faces. Moments not lived, but somehow familiar. The sound of laughter. The smell of something burning. A woman's voice calling a name that wasn't theirs. It passed in less than a second. The device settled back onto the pedestal, the hum fading. Silence. Elon stumbled backward, breath catching. Tesla was sitting, eyes closed, a single tear running down one cheek. What the hell was that? Elon asked, voice hoarse. Tesla opened his eyes. A message. From ourselves. Or from the world. I don't know, but it knows us now. And it gave something back. Elon looked at the machine. We didn't just build a battery, did we? Tesla shook his head. We built a listener. Outside, thunder cracked like a whip, and rain began to fall hard against the window. The storm had returned, but inside the lab it was calm, and the impossible had been achieved. The wind off the Hudson carried the scent of cold iron and burning coal, swirling in gusts that tugged at overcoats and scattered stray leaves across the riverside promenade. It was late afternoon in New York City, 1890. The sun hung low, caught in the amber haze of winter light, painting the surface of the river in rippling bands of gold. Elon Musk stood on the stone walkway near the water's edge, his modern shoes damp from the frost-laced ground, his breath rising in small, thoughtful clouds. Behind him, the city murmured, clocks chimed from church towers, carriage wheels clicked along the cobbled streets, and distant steam whistles cried out like lost birds. But here, by the river, it was quiet. Next to him, Nikola Tesla leaned against the black railing, eyes scanning the horizon where water met sky. He had suggested the walk after a long morning of recalibrating the resonance core. The machine still hummed faintly in both of their minds, as if it had imprinted itself beyond the lab, threading into the rhythm of their thoughts. I come here when I can't think straight, Tesla said, his voice soft, reflective. Something about the river, it's constant and changing all at once. Elon glanced at him. Do you ever get tired of it? Of thinking? Tesla smiled faintly. No, but I do tire of the world asking me to stop. They stood in silence again, watching the wind carve patterns into the water. Pigeons cooed from beneath the bridge, and a boy passed by selling roasted chestnuts, the smell momentarily warming the air between them. I used to walk along rivers when I was a teenager, Elon said. In Pretoria. Not like this, though. It was dry, dusty, but gave me the same feeling. Tesla turned slightly toward him. What feeling is that? That the world isn't as rigid as people pretend. That it bends, stretches, breaks open sometimes. Tesla nodded slowly. Yes, precisely. A moment passed, then another. I saw something, Elon admitted, when we activated the device. Not just energy, not just light. It was memory, emotion, like the machine reached into me. Tesla's gaze sharpened. You're not imagining it. You felt it too. Yes. Tesla paused. I saw my brother. Elon's expression tightened. He died when I was a boy, Tesla said. A fall from a horse. I blamed myself. Always have. But when the pulse hit, I saw his face. Older, smiling. He wasn't angry, just proud. Elon took a breath, the weight of it catching in his ribs. I saw my sons, not as they are now. Older, wiser. One of them was building something, I don't know what, but he looked happy. Tesla stared into the distance. Perhaps the machine is not just technology. Perhaps it is a mirror. Of what? Of what we carry. Of what we hide. Elon turned his face to the wind. So you think we built a window into ourselves? Not just ourselves, Tesla said. Into time, into resonance, into the universal cord that ties us all together. It's not a battery, Elon. It's a bridge. They stood there, two men from different worlds, bound not by origin, but by vision. The river continued to flow beside them, the water as indifferent to their revelations as the stars would be. You know, Tesla said, breaking the quiet, they'll never understand it. Not in my time. Probably not even in yours. I'm used to that, Elon replied. It won't stop them from trying to own it, to dissect it, weaponize it. I know. Then why build it at all? Elon looked down at the river. Because someone has to. Because maybe, just maybe, it'll reach the right hands before it's twisted. Tesla smiled sadly. You sound like me when I was younger. And you sound like me when I'm tired. Tesla let out a low chuckle. Perhaps that means we're both right. Or both fools. Probably both. A cold wind swept across the promenade, lifting Tesla's coat and sending a shiver through Elon's frame. But he didn't move. There was something grounding about this place, something solid, ancient, like the earth itself was listening. Do you think time is a circle? Elon asked suddenly, that we're just repeating things over and over with different tools. No, Tesla said. I think time is a melody. And some people, very few, can hear the echoes of notes not yet played. Elon turned his eyes to the horizon. Then what do we do with that music? Tesla's answer came quietly. We play our part, even if no one else hears it. The sky had begun to fade into shades of violet, the gold turning to shadow. Lamps flickered to life along the walkway, casting pools of warm light across the stone. Come, Tesla said. It's getting cold, and we still have work to do. Elon nodded. You know, this is the most human thing I've done in years. What's that? This, Elon gestured to the river. Talking, walking, not optimizing, just being. Tesla looked at him with a strange softness in his expression. You don't need machines to save the world, Mr. Musk. Sometimes you just need to remember what it means to be part of it. They turned and walked back the way they came, the sounds of the city gradually returning to their ears. The bridge behind them faded into the night, and the Hudson continued its eternal journey to the sea. But somewhere deep within the earth, or the soul, or perhaps something far beyond, something was listening, and it remembered them. The workshop was dark except for the flickering of a single oil lamp, its golden flame casting long shadows across the walls scribbled with equations and half-erased diagrams. Rain whispered against the window panes like a memory trying to make its way inside, and every so often, the wind would sigh through the beams of the old ceiling, as if echoing a thought neither man had yet spoken aloud. Elon Musk sat at the long wooden table in the center of the room, his forearms resting on either side of a leather-bound book. It was old, older than anything else in the lab. The spine was cracked, the cover scuffed, and its clasp tarnished from years of being unopened. It smelled faintly of parchment and copper and something stranger, like time had soaked into its pages. Across from him, Nikola Tesla moved slowly, almost reverently, lighting another lantern and setting it beside the table. The light revealed more of the journal surface, and for the first time, Elon noticed that the cover wasn't completely blank. Faintly, in pressed gold lettering almost worn to nothing, were the initials, N.T. You kept this hidden? Elon asked, barely above a whisper. Tesla nodded. Most of my work they took. My patents, my prototypes, my lectures, they were all dissected, ridiculed, or stolen. But this, he paused, his gaze fixed on the journal, like it held a soul. This I kept for myself, not for the world, not for posterity, just for truth. Elon undid the clasp and opened the cover. The first page was simple. A date, January 3rd, 1886, and a line written in a fine, slanted script. Not all frequencies can be measured with tools. Some must be felt. Elon turned the page, then another, and another. Each was filled with Tesla's careful, meticulous handwriting. But it wasn't just technical, though there were designs and calculations, yes. What shocked Elon most was how personal it all was. Dreams, visions, doubts. He flipped to a page midway through. There, Tesla had drawn something that made Elon stop breathing for a second. It was the same harmonic sphere they had just finished building, but here it was surrounded by what looked like fractal waves emanating outward in concentric layers. At the margins were phrases, not energy, consciousness. Mirrors not only us, but the unseen. What listens may also speak. Elon looked up. You saw it. Even back then, you knew what this thing was. I suspected, Tesla said, but I didn't understand it. Not fully. Not until now. Elon turned another page. On it was a sketch of something that looked eerily familiar, like a primitive version of a modern quantum processor, except rendered in brass and crystal. Alongside it, Tesla had written, What if thought is not contained in the mind but broadcast? Could memory echo through the fabric of reality? Elon exhaled. You were building machines not just to store power, but to receive it from somewhere else. From everywhere else, Tesla replied. He walked over to the window, watching the rain draw crooked lines down the glass. His voice was low. I used to think I was insane, seeing patterns in static, shapes in lightning, feeling emotions when circuits aligned a certain way. I told no one. Who would have believed me? They already thought me eccentric. I couldn't afford to become something worse. But you wrote it down, Elon said, because a part of me hoped someone, someday, would come along who could see what I saw, who wouldn't laugh, who wouldn't try to turn it into profit or war. Elon's fingers grazed a corner of the page, stopping at another diagram. This one was more abstract, 3 interlocking spirals with what looked like human silhouettes at their vertices. He couldn't understand it fully, but something about it pulled at his gut, like he was looking at the schematic for empathy itself. He closed the journal gently. Why are you giving this to me? Tesla turned from the window. Because you've already seen more than I ever did. You've built things I couldn't have dreamed of. You walk in a time when machines obey thought, where man speaks with stars. You think I was ahead of my time, but you are the time I tried to reach. Elon stood, holding the journal against his chest. What if I'm not worthy of it? Then no one is, Tesla said simply. But that's the point. Worth is not what matters. Will is. There was a long silence. Then, with a strange calm, Tesla moved to a drawer near the back of the lab. From it, he pulled out a tiny device, no larger than a matchbox. He held it up between thumb and forefinger. Inside were miniature gears, a tiny glass coil, and a fragment of quartz that shimmered faintly even in the low light. I built this long ago, he said, before I had the journal, before the dreams turned into designs. I didn't understand why I made it, only that I had to. He placed the device in Elon's hand. What does it do? Elon asked. Tesla shook his head. I still don't know, but I think it's for you. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the workshop in a sudden white blaze. Elon looked down at the tiny machine in his palm, and then back to the journal. They both pulsed with possibility, with memory, with something deeper than technology. You realize, he said, if this gets into the wrong hands, it could be disastrous. Tesla met his eyes. Then guard it with your life. Elon nodded slowly. I will. As the thunder rolled overhead, a strange calm settled between them. The workshop felt different now, less like a laboratory and more like a temple. A place where something sacred had just been passed between two seekers of the same impossible truth. Elon slipped the device into his jacket pocket, the journal tucked tightly under his arm. He didn't yet understand what he carried, but he knew it mattered. He knew it would change everything. The storm had crept in like a thief. It wasn't the wild, dramatic sort of tempest that roared into the night with theatrical thunder and violent downpours. No, this one was quieter, more calculated, like the hush before a blade is drawn. Outside Tesla's lab, the wind had died, the clouds had gathered, and strange stillness blanketed the city like velvet soaked in static. Inside, the workshop pulsed faintly. The harmonic coil stood idle, its copper surface gleaming under low lamplight, as if the device itself were sleeping, dreaming in frequencies only it could hear. The journal lay closed beside it, and the small device Tesla had gifted Elon earlier sat like a talisman atop a folded cloth. Elon Musk stood near the chalkboard, lost in thought, the weight of the discovery still settling in his chest like sediment in deep water. Tesla, across the room, was calibrating a frequency reader using tools so precise they bordered on art. Both men were so absorbed in their quiet focus that they didn't notice the shift in the air at first. Not until the hum changed. Not the hum of the machine, but of the room. A subtle vibration, low and rhythmic, like an echo from beneath the floorboards. Tesla stopped mid-motion. Do you feel that? Elon turned his head slightly. It's familiar. The lights dimmed, not from power loss, but from displacement, as if something were stepping into their reality, pushing it aside like a curtain. Then, in the far corner of the workshop, near the metal rack of copper wire, space itself twitched. The outline of a figure began to form, pixelated at first, flickering like a damaged reel of film, then solidifying with an unnatural smoothness. A man stepped forward. Sharp suit, cold eyes, symmetrical features. Gregory Halvorsen. He looked almost amused, brushing imaginary lint from the shoulder of his charcoal gray jacket, as if materializing in 1890s New York was just another meeting in his daily agenda. "Gentlemen," he said smoothly, his voice dripping with detached confidence, "what a fascinating little experiment you've built." Tesla's eyes narrowed, and his body shifted slightly, not out of fear but out of instinct. He had seen many strange things in his life, but this man didn't fit anywhere. Not in time, not in truth. Elon stepped forward, fists clenched. "How did you get here?" Halvorsen smiled. "Let's not pretend I couldn't follow the same breadcrumbs you did. You left quite a trail, Mr. Musk. Ion spikes, camera blackouts, a missing genius at the center of it all. You're not the only one with access to portals." Tesla spoke now, his voice measured. "Who are you?" Halvorsen turned to him with mock graciousness. "Nikola. May I call you Nikola? I'm Gregory Halvorsen, CEO of Vulture Corp. Visionary, pioneer, and as of recently, the man who now holds majority control over your protégé's company." Elon's breath caught. "What?" Halvorsen nodded. "Your absence didn't go unnoticed. You disappear in the middle of a major development cycle, and the vultures come. Board members panic. Shareholders shift. I made a few offers they couldn't refuse." Elon's face darkened. "You son of a..." "But I didn't come here to gloat," Halvorsen interrupted, raising a hand. "I came for the device." Tesla stepped protectively in front of the coil. "This is not for you." Halvorsen chuckled. "That's where you're wrong. It's for everyone. You just don't understand how to use it yet. But I do. I've seen its potential. The data you left behind in your lab was more than enough to recreate the structure. What I'm missing is the resonance, the final key." Elon shook his head. "You'll never get it. This thing doesn't just run on energy. It runs on intention. It's alive in a way you don't understand." "I don't need to understand it," Halvorsen said. "I just need to control it." Tesla was quiet, studying him. "You think you can bend consciousness without consequences?" Halvorsen's face hardened. "Everything has consequences. That's what makes it profitable." Suddenly, the coil began to hum again, not loud, but sharp, focused, like a tuning fork vibrating in defiance. Halvorsen took a step back, eyes narrowing. "What is that?" Tesla smiled faintly. "It's listening." "To what?" "To us." The light from the machine turned violet, deep, radiant, alive. The device was responding not to touch, not to voice, but to intention, to the discord now charging the air between invention and greed. Halvorsen reached into his coat and pulled out a sleek, futuristic controller, far too advanced for 1890. He pressed a button. The device in Elon's pocket, the one Tesla had given him, lit up in response, glowing a steady red. "What did you do?" Elon barked. "I embedded a trace element in the shell," Halvorsen said. "Insurance. I knew you'd take it. And now it's linked. Sympathetic connection. If I push one more button, I collapse the chamber's field resonance." Tesla's face grew still. "You would destroy it." "I'll destroy everything if I can't control it." Elon stepped forward. "That's the difference between us. You think control is power, but understanding, connection, that's where it really begins." Halvorsen hesitated for the first time. Tesla moved quickly, not with violence, but with clarity. He reached for the device in Elon's pocket and held it toward the coil. "Elon," he said calmly, "focus." "On what?" "On why we built it." Halvorsen shouted, raising the controller, but it was too late. The coil ignited, not with fire, not with heat, with memory. Light burst through the room, illuminating every surface with a brilliance that wasn't blinding, it was revealing. In that instant, Halvorson's face flickered, not in fear, but in recognition, as if the machine were reading him, seeing into him. Every lie, every ambition, every fracture of the soul. He screamed. The controller shattered in his hand. The coil calmed. Tesla let the device rest back on the cloth. Elon stood beside him, heart pounding. Across the room, Halvorson slumped to his knees, eyes wide and empty. What did it show him? Elon asked. Tesla didn't look away from the coil. The truth, and he couldn't hold it. The rain began again, gentle and slow. Elon stepped toward Halvorson. You'll never control this. Halvorson looked up, trembling. I don't want to. They left him there, the machine humming gently in the background like a lullaby written by the universe itself. And outside, the storm began to break. The harmonic coil had gone silent, but the tension lingered like static in the air. The storm outside had given way to pale sunlight that filtered through the dust-smudged windows of Tesla's lab, illuminating the scene with a calm that felt too fragile, too temporary. Something in the room had changed. The laws of power had bent, but not broken, and everyone felt it. Halvorson sat on a wooden stool near the wall, his pristine suit now dusted with flakes of shattered copper and crystal. His eyes, once sharp and domineering, stared at nothing in particular. His left hand still trembled faintly, the aftershock of the coil's energetic feedback lingering in his nerves like the memory of a lightning strike. Elon stood a few feet away, arms crossed, jaw tight. Tesla was silent, pacing slowly near the machine, inspecting its frame, checking for fractures or interference. But the coil miraculously was intact, not even a scratch. It had chosen not to retaliate in destruction. It had chosen clarity, and that terrified Halvorson more than anything. You don't understand what's coming, Halvorson said, his voice low, hoarse. You think this was a victory? That thing showed me something I wasn't meant to see. Elon didn't flinch. You mean it showed you yourself? Halvorson looked up. You don't know what it's like to see the void between the life you've built and the soul you lost along the way. I saw every lie I've sold, every shortcut, every silence that bought me power. Tesla stopped pacing. And now? Halvorson hesitated. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Not maniacally, but hollowly. Now I see how small it all is. Elon narrowed his eyes. So what? You're here to repent? Halvorson shook his head. No, I'm here to make an offer. Tesla raised an eyebrow. Elon stepped closer, guarded. I've seen what your machine can do, Halvorson said. And I know what it could do, if finished, if refined. That energy field, it doesn't just resonate with human emotion. It maps it, amplifies it. We could use that, guide it. With the right infrastructure, the right interface, we could build a world powered by empathy. Elon's jaw tightened. You don't believe in empathy. You believe in leverage. I believed in profit, Halvorson admitted, because it was all I had. But this is something else. I'm not asking to control it. I'm offering to fund it, support it, help you bring it forward to the 21st century, to your time. Let's finish what you started. Together. Elon stared at him, stunned not by the offer, but by the sincerity behind it. Halvorson's voice no longer rang with rehearsed boardroom authority. It was slower now, real, almost human. Tesla studied him closely, like a physicist examining an unstable particle. And what price would you demand in return? No price, Halvorson said. Only access. Let me help you replicate it. Roll it out safely. Let's show the world what it means to build machines that reflect our best, not exploit our worst. Elon looked at Tesla. Tesla looked back at the machine. The silence stretched long. Finally, Tesla spoke. Technology that listens to the human spirit is not meant to be scaled like a product. It's meant to awaken us. Slowly, carefully. I'm not talking about consumer tech, Halvorson replied. I'm talking about architecture. Energy grids that respond to communities, to the emotional health of cities. Homes that calm themselves during panic. Systems that reward kindness with efficiency. This isn't about domination, it's about evolution. Elon had to admit it sounded compelling and dangerous. You said yourself you saw the void, Elon said. You saw the man you became. Why would we trust you now? Halvorson's eyes glistened with something unexpected. Because I don't want to go back to him. Tesla crossed the room, stopping a foot from Halvorson. He looked into his eyes, not with judgment, but with the calm scrutiny of a man who had long since stopped fearing imperfection. This machine will never obey you, Tesla said, but it might reveal you. Every time. Are you willing to be seen, Mr. Halvorson? Not once, not for a moment, but always? Halvorson hesitated, then nodded. Tesla glanced at Elon. I won't decide this for us. Elon exhaled slowly. The journal still sat on the work table. The prototype glowed faintly, its surface alive with a soft, indigo shimmer. He could feel it, feel the question vibrating in the air. Not just can you trust him, but can you risk becoming him by denying the chance for change? We bring it forward, Elon said carefully, on our terms. No corporate ownership, no patents, open source, transparent development. You don't control the rollout, you help it unfold. Halvorson nodded. Agreed. And if you break that, if you try to twist it into a weapon or a brand, I'll dismantle every piece myself. Halvorson managed a small smile. Then I guess we're partners. With a gun to my soul. Elon didn't smile back. That's the only kind of partnership this tech allows. Tesla placed a hand gently on the machine. It will know, he said. Elon looked to the window. Outside, the sun had risen just high enough to cast a golden beam across the floorboards. The storm had passed, but the air was still charged, still alert. A page had turned, and the words yet to be written would define not just history, but humanity. Then we begin, Elon said. Tesla nodded. We begin. And beneath their feet, the harmonic coil pulsed once, steady and low, as if it too had agreed. The morning light had shifted from soft gold to crisp clarity. Inside Tesla's lab, beams of sunshine angled through the tall arch windows, painting the floor in grids of light and shadow, like nature's own blueprint, sprawled across time-worn wood and scattered copper wires. The harmonic coil sat dormant at the center of it all, yet somehow still watchful, like a heart between beats. Nikola Tesla stood at the chalkboard, hands dusty with white powder, sketching a diagram so fluid it felt more like calligraphy than science. The outline of the coil took center stage, but it branched out into strange symbols, fractals, overlapping spirals, notations in multiple languages, and what looked almost like musical staves. This, he said, tapping a small node at the top of the drawing, is not the battery. This is the bridge. The actual core of the system is the intention loop, the way thought modulates the pulse. Without it, we're just powering lights. With it, we might be illuminating people. Elon leaned on the table, hands spread over the journal now, filled with more annotations than its original author had ever written. He wore his usual dark jacket, sleeves rolled, and his expression was caught between awe and focus. You're saying the machine doesn't just respond to emotional input. It reflects it, stores it, maybe even broadcasts it? Tesla turned slowly. Emotion is resonance. Intention is waveform. Everything else is syntax. Syntax for what? For meaning. From across the lab, Gregory Halvorson approached cautiously, holding a sheet of tracing vellum. His posture was humble now, not submissive, but softened. He still wore his charcoal gray suit, though his jacket hung open and wrinkled, as if he'd forgotten to care. I've been translating the resonance field maps, he said, placing the sheet next to Tesla's chalkboard. These are from the coil's second pulse. The pattern wasn't random. It mimicked neural architecture, like a crude memory map. Elon peered at the curves. So you think the machine is learning? Halvorson nodded. Not just learning, remembering. Each use doesn't erase the previous one, it builds on it. Tesla's eyes twinkled faintly, like consciousness. Elon's fingers drummed the table. We need to test this in a broader loop. controlled pulses, varying inputs, emotional states. What happens if someone who's grieving uses the coil, or someone filled with joy or guilt? Tesla's chalk clicked against the board again. It would be irresponsible to scale this without knowing the risks. Agreed, Elon said, but we also can't afford to bury it. If even half of what we think is true, this could change everything. Grid infrastructure, communication, healing, understanding. Halvorsen stepped forward. What about integration? We bring it to the present carefully. One node, one prototype lab. No exposure to press or market forces. Private development with public transparency. Elon raised an eyebrow. You suggesting Vulture Corp be the ethical conduit? Halvorsen smirked. I didn't say me. I said we. A new division. Independent. Something like Etherworks. Tesla nodded in approval. A fitting name. The ether has always carried more than just sound. Elon pulled out a notepad and began sketching rapidly. Schematics, concepts, and annotations filled the page. We need a way to shield the emotional field until we understand how it impacts untrained users. Some kind of stabilizer ring, maybe graphene-laced to ground the field, or a counter-resonant pulse to harmonize extremes. Tesla moved beside him, correcting angles, adjusting ratios. Use crystalline quartz, not metal. It holds charge without echo. It will temper the intent, not suppress it. Halvorsen added, and biometric sensors, real-time feedback to ensure no one's pushing the system beyond its range. It was a strange dance. 3 men from wildly different worlds, sketching the future like architects of some unseen cathedral. Their styles clashed, their ideologies wavered, but the rhythm was real. Harmonious, like 3 frequencies slowly tuning into one another. Where would we build it? Halvorsen asked. Elon stared out the window. Somewhere quiet, remote, a place where the resonance won't interfere with existing grids. Maybe Greenland, or the Atacama, somewhere with depth and silence. Tesla spoke softly, or underground, beneath the noise. They looked at one another. All 3 men knew what this meant. It wasn't just about power or technology anymore. This was about rewriting the way civilization felt itself. A blueprint for tomorrow that began not with code or circuitry, but with intention. Elon turned to Tesla. What about you? If we return, if we go back to my time, you'll be left behind. Tesla smiled gently. I was always from the wrong time. I've made peace with that. You could come with us. Tesla looked down at the chalk in his hands. Time is elastic, yes, but it is also jealous. If I leave my era, who creates the world you grew up in? Who dreams the dreams that led you here? Halvorsen looked away, silently acknowledging the truth. Elon nodded slowly. Then we carry your legacy. No, Tesla said. You carry your own. Mine is simply woven into it. The lab fell quiet for a moment, the only sound the ticking of Tesla's custom metronome on a nearby shelf. Then, with deliberate calm, Tesla picked up a small copper key and handed it to Elon. For the chamber, he said, once you rebuild it, it must always be opened with care. Elon took the key. It was warm in his hand. Thank you, he said. Tesla looked at both men, one from the future, the other from a fractured present, and smiled with something deeper than pride. You came searching for a solution, he said, but what you found is a question that can never be answered alone. They stood together by the coil one last time, and in the silence it pulsed once, soft, deep, accepting, as if the blueprint for tomorrow had already begun. The harmonic coil pulsed faintly, like the breath of a sleeping giant. The workshop was quiet now, its long wooden tables cleared of blueprints, its chalkboards washed clean. Only the machine in the center remained fully alive, glowing softly with that impossible indigo light. It was no longer just an invention, it was a convergence point, a living monument to what 3 men from 3 different mindsets had dared to build together. Tesla stood by the window, his silhouette framed in golden daylight. His hands were clasped behind his back, his dark coat dusted with chalk and copper filings. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence between them had grown familiar, resonant. Elon Musk stood before the machine, adjusting the stabilizers. His expression was focused, but his heart was heavy. Across the room, Halvorsen monitored the portable resonance meter they'd improvised using a hybrid of Tesla's analog engineering and Elon's 21st century logic. The readings were stable now, finally. The window would open again. But this time, it would be a one-way trip. Elon looked up at the coil, then turned to Tesla. "Are you sure?" Tesla nodded without looking at him. "This is your time, Elon. Mine is fading. But what if we could bring you forward? Just for a while, even to witness it." Tesla turned, his face lit with calm resolve. "And do what? Exist as a relic in a world that no longer needs to remember me? No, the present is yours, and the past must keep its foundations intact." Elon opened his mouth, but stopped. He couldn't argue with a man who'd seen so far ahead of his time that even his silence sounded prophetic. Halvorsen cleared his throat softly. "Coordinates are aligned. Energy field is synced to Musk's original entry pattern. It should bring you back to Boca Chica roughly a few hours after you left." Elon let out a slow breath. "So no time lost." "Not externally," Halvorsen said, "but inside you. That's another story." Tesla approached and handed Elon a leather satchel. Inside were the journal, the prototype interface node, and the small crystalline tuning core they had refined together, 3 artifacts born from a time that had no name yet. "I've included final sketches," Tesla said, "and a few things I never dared to patent." Elon took it gently. "I'll guard them and share them carefully." Tesla reached into his coat and produced something small, something unexpected, a folded piece of paper. "A letter. For your sons," he said quietly. Elon hesitated, then took it. "Thank you." They stood close now, the coil humming louder, its inner mechanisms awakening as the alignment finalized. The copper rings began to rotate. Arcs of pale light danced along the glass pylons. The portal would open again. Tesla stepped back. Halvorsen remained still. But Elon stayed in place for another second, as if reluctant to move. "This doesn't feel like a goodbye," Elon said. "It isn't," Tesla replied. "Not really. The machine you take back will carry more than our signatures. It will carry our imprint, our shared frequency. Wherever you go, a piece of this room will hum beside you." Elon smiled faintly. "And if someone builds another one, years from now?" "They will," Tesla said. "And they'll feel what we felt. They'll remember." A deep vibration filled the room. The floor beneath them thrummed with power, not violent, but harmonic, like the swell of a symphony just before the final movement. Light filled the coil, spinning faster, building into a sphere of energy that floated a few feet above the machine like a bubble made of starlight. Elon turned to Halvorsen. "You sure you're up for what's coming?" Halvorsen gave a tight smile. "I've walked through greed. This time I'll try purpose." "Good," Elon said. "You're going to need it." Tesla stepped forward one last time, holding out his hand. Elon took it, the handshake firm, enduring. "Go," Tesla said. "But don't forget, this machine was never built to power cities. It was built to illuminate people." Elon nodded, eyes glistening just slightly. "I won't forget." With a final glance around the room, the antique tools, the dusty lamps, the chalk scent of genius lingering in the air, he stepped toward the light. The moment he passed into the sphere, the world stretched. Not like falling, not like flying. It was remembering. The lab, the voices, the heartbeat of the machine, they all echoed outward in infinite layers, folding time back into itself. For a breathless moment, Elon felt everything. The coil, the resonance, Tesla's sadness, Halvorsen's rebirth, the city outside, his sons waiting. And then, light collapsed into darkness, and darkness into something else entirely. He awoke to silence, but not the silence of the past. The hum of air conditioning, the distant thrum of servers, The soft hiss of pressurized doors opening and closing. Musk blinked up at the metal ceiling of Hangar B. Boca Chica, his lab. It was morning. The storm had passed. A sliver of sunlight broke through the high windows and landed perfectly on the harmonic prototype, still sitting on the testing platform, unchanged. But now not alone. The satchel was in his hand. He stood slowly, body aching like it had weathered centuries. On a nearby monitor, the timestamp showed he'd been gone for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Nothing abnormal, nothing the cameras could explain. Except Elon knew. He remembered. Camila's voice came over the intercom. "Elon, we're getting strange pulse readings from the node. Are you okay?" He walked to the panel, flipped on the mic. "Better than okay," he said. "We have work to do." She paused. Did something happen? He looked at the journal, at the tuning crystal, at the echo of Nikola Tesla's final smile, still etched in his memory. You could say I took a detour. And then he smiled, fully, truly, for the first time in years. The past had given him a blueprint. The future was waiting, and the coil still hummed. The harmonic coil pulsed faintly under the soft lights of Hangar B, as if the machine itself was still catching its breath. Elon Musk stood in the center of the lab, alone for a moment, surrounded by silence that wasn't empty, but full of something deeper. Time had twisted and returned him to this place, yet everything felt slightly out of sync. His own heartbeat echoed louder. His movements felt slower. The satchel in his hand was heavier, not in weight but in meaning. Camila Reyes entered quietly through the side door. Her gray jumpsuit bore a faint oil stain across the right shoulder, and a ring of fatigue circled her eyes. But when she saw him, really saw him, her breath caught in her throat. "Elon," she whispered, "you're really back." He nodded. She crossed the room in seconds and stopped just short of embracing him. Instead, she placed her hand gently on his shoulder, grounding herself in the fact that he was truly there. What happened? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped aside, set the satchel on the nearest table, and opened it. Inside lay the worn leather journal, the crystalline interface core, and a folded sheet of parchment sealed in wax, Tesla's letter to Elon's sons. Camila reached forward, running her fingers over the journal's cracked spine. "This isn't ours," she murmured. "It is now," Elon said. "It belongs to everyone who's ready to see the world differently." He opened the journal and flipped to the middle, revealing pages of spirals, equations, and musings about emotion as energy. Camila studied the elegant script, half disbelieving. "This was Tesla's?" she asked. "Yes," Elon replied. "He finished what we only started, and now it's our turn to carry it forward." She sat slowly, still staring at the pages. "How long were you gone?" 2 hours, he said, "and a century." A faint smile curved her lips, but her eyes welled. "We thought we lost you." The energy readings went off the charts. The resonance signatures, they don't match anything we've ever recorded. "They wouldn't," Elon said, "because this machine doesn't run on electricity. It runs on intention, emotion, harmony." Camila gave him a wary glance. "You sound like him." Elon met her eyes. "I heard him say things no one should be able to explain. And yet, I understood. The machine reflects us. It listens. It remembers." Camila looked back at the coil. "Then it's dangerous." "It's powerful," Elon corrected. "And power has always depended on the hands it falls into." She paused. "And what do we do with it?" "We finish building it," he said. "But not for profit. Not for a product line. We build it for clarity." A chime echoed softly through the lab. Camila's terminal lit up with a message. "Resonance field detected. Unknown source query?" She turned the screen to Elon. "That started the moment you came back." "It's still pinging. Something's changed." He nodded. "The machine remembers the bridge, the connection to the past. Tesla, Alvorson, the version of ourselves we almost became." Camila raised an eyebrow. "Alvorson." "I'll explain everything," Elon said. "But first, I need to show you something." He opened a small compartment in the satchel and retrieved the crystalline interface core. When he held it up to the coil, the lights in the lab dimmed. The machine responded instantly, humming not loudly but with a tone that seemed to resonate in the bones, not just the air. Lines of blue energy traced themselves across the floor in intricate patterns, converging beneath the coil's base in a mandala of light. Tesla called it a harmonic mirror, Elon said. It doesn't just channel energy, it interprets it, adapts it. Camila stood slowly, mesmerized by the lines on the ground. It's mapping our presence. More than that, Elon said, it's measuring who we are. In here. He tapped his chest. Not just our biosignature, but our emotional frequency. Camila stepped back slightly. And what if someone filled with hate stands here? The machine won't respond, Elon said, or it will shut down. That's the safeguard. It doesn't obey emotion. It reflects it, like a river refusing to carry poison. They stood there, bathed in the quiet glow of the awakened machine, each lost in thought. Then Elon turned. We'll need a team, not engineers, not marketers, empaths, philosophers, artists, people who see the world as a system of relationships, not just components. Camila nodded. And you'll lead them. He hesitated. No, I'll start it. But I can't lead what this becomes. It has to be collective. A new voice echoed from the far end of the room. That's the most un-Musk thing I've ever heard. They turned sharply. Standing near the main entrance, pale from sleepless nights, but wide awake in purpose, was Gregory Halvorsen. He wore a clean suit now. Simple, modest. His posture was no longer predatory. He carried no device, no briefcase. Only a small hard case slung across his back. Camila stiffened. What's he doing here? Elon raised a hand. He helped build the prototype. He knows more about the resonance behavior than anyone alive. And he's different. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Halvorsen said gently. Only for a job. Camila looked at Elon. He nodded once. Fine, she said, but one lie, and the machine will know. Halvorsen smiled faintly. That's why I'm terrified. They gathered around the coil, each placing a hand on its frame. The glow deepened. The hum grew warmer. The lines on the floor shifted again, forming a new pattern, one none of them had seen before. A triangle, 3 points, 3 minds. The machine remembered. Elon stepped back and exhaled. We have a long way to go. Camila smiled. Then we'd better start walking. And somewhere deep in the harmonic field, something stirred, something ancient and new, born not of code or copper, but of choice. The future had begun. The world didn't shift overnight, but it began to vibrate differently. At first, it was subtle. In the weeks following Elon's return to Boca Chica, the resonance field surrounding the harmonic coil began spreading through the lab systems, feeding quietly into diagnostic terminals, wireless sensors, even the ambient lighting. Nothing malfunctioned, but nothing behaved the same either. Lights dimmed slightly when stress levels rose. Doors slowed their closing when someone walked through in a rush. Silence in the lab became deeper, more present, like the room itself was learning to listen. They called it the Tesla Protocol, a name whispered first by Camila during a late-night brainstorm as she watched the machine adjust its pulse to match Elon's breathing pattern. It wasn't just reacting, it was synchronizing, like it remembered Tesla's guiding hand and was honoring it with every harmonic decision. The prototype no longer needed instructions. It felt intent. Elon stood on the balcony of the observation level, looking down at the coil bathed in gentle indigo blue. Halvorsen was below, calibrating the new biometric overlay, an interface that registered emotional states without collecting any data. A passive mirror, not a surveillance tool. That had been Elon's condition. Above all, the system would never record people's feelings, only reflect them. Camila joined him, holding 2 steaming mugs of mate. She handed one over without a word, then leaned on the railing, her gaze fixed on the soft glow below. He's taking it seriously, she said, nodding toward Halvorsen. He saw something, Elon replied. something that cracked him open. Camila sipped, or scared him straight. Elon smiled faintly. Does it matter? She looked at him. It might. They stood in silence, listening to the low hum of resonance moving through the building's bones. Have you thought about what happens if this goes global? Camila asked quietly. All the time. And Elon exhaled slowly. We'll need anchors. People in every sector, education, medicine, politics, who understand the emotional implications before we introduce any version of the tech. No more reactive infrastructures, Camila said. Only responsive ones, Elon finished. And only if they deserve to resonate. Down below, Halvorsen approached the base of the coil with a new component, a small, hand-shaped interface plate lined with brushed titanium and crystal filaments. It was designed to scan for 3 variables: emotional coherence, cognitive intention, and physiological balance. Only if all 3 harmonized would the machine respond. They were designing a system not just of access, but of readiness. Suddenly, the coil's light shifted, brightening subtly, then dimming back to baseline. Camila raised an eyebrow. It's pulsing faster today. It does that when it's anticipating change, Elon said. It did the same before I left. A soft chime interrupted them. The wall screen beside them blinked with a priority message, encrypted, untraceable, routed through 3 satellites. The sender ID read, Etherworks Relay Geneva Node. Camila tapped to open the message. A young woman appeared on the screen, early 30s, African-European descent, with a calm voice and sharp mind. Her name was Dr. Leah Marceau. She was the lead of an underground think tank in Switzerland that had been running quantum consciousness simulations long before the term became fashionable. Her eyes were serious. Mr. Musk, Ms. Reyes, we've just detected a resonance field signature near Mont Blanc. It's identical to your prototype's early patterns prior to your return. But it's corrupted, inverted. There's no emotional feedback, only extraction. Something is drawing intent out of people without their awareness. Elon's breath caught. How far has it spread? We estimate a 3-kilometer radius, Marceau said. Locals are describing fatigue, mood shifts, emotional numbness. We believe it's an imitation of your coil without its safeguards. Camila's hands tightened on the railing. Someone rebuilt it without understanding it. Marceau's face darkened. Or worse, someone understood exactly what they were building. The screen blinked off. For a moment, no one moved. Then Elon turned, prepped the mobile coil. Small scale, isolated feedback loop. Camila nodded and moved. Elon descended into the lab, where Halvorsen had just returned the interface plate to its mount. He looked up as Elon approached. Something's wrong, Halvorsen said before Elon could speak. The machine is anxious. Elon froze. Anxious. It's the only word I can find. Its frequency is rising without user input, as if it's preparing itself. For what? Before Halvorsen could answer, the coil emitted a pulse. Not loud, not bright, but felt like a ripple across the chest, a tug in the spine, a whisper in the bones. Camila called from above. We just picked up the same signal from 3 more sites, Peru, Kyoto, and Cairo, all with mirrored frequency distortions. Elon turned to Halvorsen. This was never about controlling one machine, he said slowly. This was about awakening something larger. Tesla, he wasn't just building a prototype. Halvorsen whispered, he was building a seed. The lab lights flickered. The coil shimmered again, this time with new colors weaving through the blue. Green, violet, even gold. Then it's time, Elon said. We activate the Tesla protocol fully. Halvorsen's eyes widened. You're sure? If someone's building resonance fields to drain the world, we give the world a way to push back. We make clarity contagious. Camila's voice came through the intercom, all systems standing by. Elon stepped to the coil and placed his hand on the interface plate. The machine recognized him. It pulsed in return, not just with energy, but with memory. Of Tesla's hand, of intention, of possibility. The light rose, The room filled with a warmth not from heat, but from presence. And the world outside felt it. The ripple began in silence, not in an explosion of sound or flash of light, but in something quieter, deeper, a shift in the hum beneath the surface of the world. It started in Boca Chica. As Elon's hand rested against the titanium crystal interface of the harmonic coil, the system responded, not with force, but with recognition. Across the lab, a low tone filled the air. Pure, whole, a frequency so steady it made fluorescent lights flicker in rhythm. The Tesla protocol had been activated. Not a command, not a program, a signal. Within seconds, the resonance field expanded outward from the coil through reinforced concrete and fiber optics, leaping to the auxiliary satellites overhead. It passed silently through quantum relays Elon had installed years prior for experimental communication networks. Back then, just another eccentric idea. Now those nodes had purpose. Within 43 minutes, the first global feedback loop lit up. In a forested corner of northern Kyoto, monks in an ancient temple paused mid-chant. The old brass bell above the altar began to vibrate softly, unstruck. A cherry blossom petal floated in a beam of sunlight, caught in the sudden stillness, as the harmonic frequency bled into the wood, into the air, into them. And the head monk smiled. "It has begun," he whispered. Thousands of miles away, on a windswept ridge above the Atacama Desert, a solar research station recorded anomalous pulses through its underground sensors. The technicians, baffled, realized the data matched no known solar activity or geological movement. Instead, the resonance carried the signature of emotion. Back in Boca Chica, Camila stared at the rapidly expanding world map on the digital display, her eyes wide. "It's sinking," she breathed, "faster than we predicted." Elon stood behind her, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "It's not sinking," he said. "It's responding." Halvorsen leaned over a nearby terminal. "We've received backscatter harmonics from Cairo, Reykjavik, and Nairobi. Even Antarctica's abandoned signal tower is pinging. The system isn't just transmitting, it's waking something up." Camila looked at Elon. "What did you build?" Elon didn't answer right away. He walked to the glass wall overlooking the harmonic coil, watching the glow deepen into something that resembled bioluminescence, organic, intelligent. "We didn't build anything," he said softly. "We just gave the Earth a way to remember itself." The resonance wasn't limited to tech. In Nairobi, a musician named Ayana felt it while tuning her handmade harp. The strings vibrated before her fingers touched them, aligning with her pulse. She played one note, and the air shimmered. In rural Peru, a healer named Tomas reported that his herbal mixtures began emitting faint luminescence when placed near his oldest stone talismans. The locals claimed they felt calmer, braver, as if their ancestors were walking beside them. In London, children in a school for the blind began to hum the same unknown melody during lunch, each one in a different key, yet harmonizing perfectly. None of them could explain where the music came from. None of them needed to. Back in the Tesla lab, a moment of quiet, awe settled over the team. Halvorsen closed his laptop slowly. The coil isn't central anymore. It's just one voice in a global choir. Camila nodded. "And no one's leading it." "That's the point," Elon said. "It's decentralized. The frequency doesn't belong to anyone." A new screen lit up, an incoming live transmission from Geneva. Dr. Leah Marceau appeared again, this time with a subtle grin playing on her lips. "You were right," she said. The corrupted node in Mont Blanc collapsed within minutes of the protocol going live. Its structure couldn't hold the feedback from a genuine signal. It self-neutralized. Elon exhaled. How many others were there? 7, she said. Now, none. The real frequency is overriding them. But there's something else. Something strange. Camila leaned closer. What kind of strange? Dr. Marceau hesitated. People are reporting changes. Not just awareness. Physical changes. Faster healing. Reduced inflammation. Emotional breakthroughs that usually take years of therapy happening overnight. Halvorsen blinked. You're saying this field is altering biology? Marceau nodded. Or aligning it? The screen cut out. Camila turned to Elon. Do we control this? No, he said. We guide it. Halvorsen stepped back from the monitors, visibly unsettled. But what happens when someone resists it? If the coil reflects and amplifies truth, what happens when someone tries to lie in its presence? Elon turned toward the humming machine. They break, he said quietly. The lab fell still. They all knew the stakes had just changed. What had begun as a quest for energy had become a confrontation with the emotional architecture of the human race. The harmonic field didn't care about language, borders, or ideologies. It cared about coherence, about resonance, about the truth beneath the noise. That night, Elon walked alone outside the lab. The desert wind blew gently, warm and dry, and the stars above blinked in eerie unison. He sat on a stone near the launch platform, looking up. He pulled Tesla's letter from his pocket, the one addressed to Elon's sons. He hadn't opened it yet. Now, under starlight, he did. The paper crackled softly as he unfolded it. The handwriting was elegant and precise. To the future sons of the man who built bridges through time. Know this. Technology will always chase answers, but it is your heart that must ask the right questions. Do not build to conquer. Build to connect. Do not lead with the loudest voice. Lead with the clearest intention. If you ever doubt what matters, return to the resonance. It will never lie. NT. Elon closed his eyes and smiled. The earth was listening, and humanity was finally learning how to sing back. The light was not welcome everywhere. As the Tesla protocol spread, as resonance awakened empathy in places long silent, not all eyes looked on with wonder. For some, the rise of clarity felt like the death of control. In boardrooms sealed behind biometric vaults, in old war bunkers buried beneath mountain ranges, and in networks of power built upon deception and disconnection, the hum of awakening was heard as a threat. And those who built those shadows began to stir. In a soundproof room deep beneath a financial conglomerate in Zurich, a man named Thorn Vallis leaned forward on a sleek black desk, the soft glow of 7 monitors reflecting in his ice-gray eyes. He was in his 60s, lean but angular, with silver hair slicked back and a scar that ran across his neck, the result of a long-forgotten coup attempt he had survived with terrifying calm. Vallis didn't run a company. He ran silence. Every government contract, every disinformation campaign, every untraceable kill switch had moved through his hands at some point. To most of the world, he didn't exist. But now, because of a machine built by a man he once laughed off as an eccentric, his world was beginning to unravel. "This is beyond neural feedback," he said, voice cold as polished glass. "It's metaphysical contagion." Across the room, his chief advisor, Mariana Cray, nodded. She wore a deep burgundy suit, black gloves, and a pair of opaque smart lenses that projected a rotating globe of resonance activity in the air beside her. "We're calling it cognitive harmonization," she said. "Regions exposed to sustained pulses are experiencing measurable shifts in behavior. Reduced hostility, lower incidence of corruption in local municipalities. 2 cartel networks dissolved themselves in Oaxaca, just walked away." Vallis's jaw tightened. "And no one's using it to sell anything." "No," Cray said. "That's the problem. The signal's not monetized. It's not even traceable to a server. It moves like intuition, fluid, nonlinear. People don't even know they're changing, but they are." Vallis stood and crossed the room to the holographic globe, narrowing his gaze. "Where's Musk?" "Boca Chica," Cray replied, "still running the original coil. But it's not the source anymore. He just triggered it." Vallis stared into the spinning globe. "Then we cut the roots before the forest spreads." Back in Texas, the lab hummed with a resonance that felt like home. The Tesla coil no longer pulsed with static light. It pulsed with presence. Every line of its structure glowed in time with the subtle emotional rhythms of those inside the lab. It had become more than a machine. It was now a mirror of human coherence. Elon Musk stood before the coil with Camila, and Halvorsen beside him. On the main screen, global maps rotated, each pinpoint a beacon of activated resonance. The dots were multiplying daily. But wasn't the spread that troubled Elon. It was the dropouts. Kyoto's field went dark, Camila said, scrolling through the data. So did the node in Cairo. They didn't collapse naturally. These were scrubbed. Someone suppressing them, Halvorsen said. Not just blocking the signal, nullifying it. Elon stepped closer to the screen. That takes intent. Someone out there is building anti-harmonic technology. Camila looked over. How is that even possible? Halvorsen hesitated. You'd need a device that emits resonance, but tuned to conflict. Mismatched polarity. It wouldn't energize you, it would drain you. Like broadcasting despair. Elon's face darkened. A weapon. Camila whispered, like an emotional EMP. Elon nodded. Tesla warned about this. In his journal, he called it the echo of the divide. A force that doesn't just oppose harmony, it feeds on dissonance. On cue, the coil trembled. Not visibly, but within them. Each of them felt it, a spike of unease, like standing in a room just after someone screamed. The coil's glow dimmed slightly, then stabilized. It's sensing interference, Elon said. From the terminal, Camila pulled up real-time field analytics. We're getting sharp counter-resonance signatures from Zurich. Repeating pattern, intent to obscure, and fear. Elon blinked. It's reading their intent. Yes, Camila said. They're not just building a counterfield. They're afraid of what we've built, of what it means. Halvorsen adjusted a dial. We could amplify the signal, stabilize the outer nodes. But if we do that, they'll know exactly where to strike. Elon stared at the coil. We don't fight them with fear. We don't cloak ourselves. We amplify clarity, even if it makes us a target. Camila asked. Yes, he said, because if we hide, we prove their fear was right. But if we open wide, we force them to feel, to face their own dissonance. Silence fell. Then Camila quietly, I'm with you. Halvorsen hesitated and nodded. Elon reached into the satchel and withdrew Tesla's crystalline interface. He held it up. The machine responded instantly, glowing not just with light, but with warmth. A soft pulse filled the lab, and across the world, the nodes that had begun to dim flickered back to life. A resonance answering the aggression, not to destroy it, but to absorb it, to transform it. In Zurich, the floor beneath Vallis's operations chamber shuddered. The resonance nullifier they'd activated just hours before began to fracture, delivering back not silence, but sound, music, emotion, memory. A lifetime of suppressed conscience flooding forward all at once. Vallis staggered back. No. Mariana Cray dropped her glasses, tears welling in her eyes for reasons she couldn't name. It's in us. Outside the vault, the city slowed and breathed. Back in Boca Chica, the coil pulsed once more, deeper now. Wiser. It had touched the void, and it had found even there a note worth saving. There was a stillness in the air, not emptiness, but something like expectation. It had been 7 days since the Tesla protocol had pulsed across the planet, disrupting signals and silences in equal measure. 7 days since the failed suppression in Zurich cracked the old machinery of secrecy. 7 days since the harmonic network, long hidden in subconscious echoes and ancient geometry, had awakened fully. But the world had not fallen. It had listened, and now it was beginning to respond. From the top of the Tesla compound in Boca Chica, Elon Musk stood overlooking the coast. The sky was soft with early morning light, the Gulf sparkling in the distance, the horizon glowing like a memory returned. Beside him, Camila Reyes leaned against the railing, a tablet in her hand displaying real-time resonance charts that pulsed like a global heartbeat. 38 new nodes came online overnight, she said softly, and none of them were built by us. Elon didn't flinch. That's exactly what we hoped for. Across the planet, builders were becoming harmonists, engineers who no longer just designed systems, but shaped resonance through empathy. In Argentina, Children in a rural school had reconstructed a rudimentary harmonic circle using copper wire and river stones. In Mongolia, a group of former miners repurposed their tunnels into sonic caverns for meditative healing. In New Zealand, a forgotten observatory now pulsed with a rhythm that soothed not just minds, but tectonic tremors. It was spreading not like fire, but like truth. Halvorsen entered the rooftop quietly. His posture was no longer the sharp edge of a strategist, but the grounded stance of a man rebuilding himself daily. "They've invited us to Geneva," he said. "All of us. An open council. No governments. No corporate titles. Just people who feel the field and want to protect it." Camila blinked. "A global summit? That fast?" "They're calling it the first resonant assembly," Halvorsen said. "Tesla's name is everywhere. So is yours." Elon shook his head. "This isn't about me." "It is to them," Halvorsen replied. "You sparked it." "No," Elon said, turning from the railing. "The coil sparked it. Tesla dreamed it. I just remembered in time." He looked down at the harmonic coil housed in the room below, a soft glow rising through the skylight as it pulsed with gentle clarity. It was no longer a prototype. It was a memory engine, a mirror, a symphony of coherence encoded in copper, crystal, and compassion. "We've been preparing a long time," Elon said. "We just didn't know for what." Camila lowered her tablet. "And now we guide," Elon said. "We teach, and we listen." A gust of wind passed over the rooftop. It was warm and strange, filled with a vibration that felt not like sound, but acknowledgement, as if the air had begun to recognize intention. Across the street from a lab, a group of children had begun building small copper spirals in the sand, not because they were told to, but because they felt it. In cities across the globe, murals were appearing overnight, depictions of luminous coils, of open hands, of concentric waves flowing from human hearts. The world wasn't bowing to the coil. It was resonating with what the coil revealed. Later that afternoon, Elon entered the lab's lower chamber. It had been repurposed as a living archive, a space filled not with cold servers or hard drives, but with pages, sketches, personal testimonies, and harmonic impressions captured in acoustic glass. In the center, Tesla's journal rested in a case of soft light glass, open to the final entry. The machine may remember the body, but it must first feel the soul. Camila stood beside it, silent. "I've thought about what it means," she said at last. "That we created something that doesn't need power, just honesty. That's what makes it dangerous to the old world," Elon said. "It replaces fear with clarity. Do you think it will last?" He didn't answer immediately. Then, yes, because it's not centralized, and because it doesn't promise anything except reflection. Those who abuse it, it will ignore. Those who embrace it will grow. Just then, the coil pulsed again. A new frequency, slower, deeper. Halvorsen entered, holding a live report. Geneva just activated their primary array. They've tuned it into the Earth's Schumann resonance. Camila raised an eyebrow. "They're syncing the field with the planet itself." Halvorsen nodded. "Tesla theorized it in 1899. They just proved it." For a moment, the three stood in silence. And below them, the coil responded, not with light, but with a sound none of them could explain. It wasn't musical. It wasn't mechanical. It was human, like someone humming through space and time. A heartbeat of humanity rediscovered. That night, Elon walked the perimeter of the lab alone. He stopped by the edge of the dune where he first heard the coil call back to him. The stars were brighter than usual. The air felt alive. Every footstep seemed to echo, not outward but inward. He removed Tesla's letter from his pocket again, the one he'd shown his sons only hours ago. They hadn't said much, but they understood. And in their eyes, he saw something he hadn't seen in years. Hope, not the naive kind, the kind built on connection, the kind that resonates. He looked up at the stars, wondering if Tesla could see all of this from wherever he now belonged. If he was watching not with ego, but with peace. "We did it," Elon whispered. They listened. He turned back toward the lab. His lab, yes, but now something much larger. A place where science met soul, where intention mattered more than invention, where the future no longer needed to be forced. It simply needed to be felt. And far above, as if in quiet agreement, the stars pulsed. Not brighter, but clearer. And the world listened. Now that you've felt the resonance of this story, tell us, where in the world are you listening from? Globe showing Europe, Africa. And if the harmonic coil were real, what would you hope it reveals about humanity? Drop your city in the comments, and let's see how far this frequency reaches.